Hello, Naomi. This will be some video feedback for you. I'll cover 3.1 through 4.1. I'll begin with 4.1, which is your wireframe from the peer discussion. And I'll end with 3.1, which was the market research journal entry. So that way we'll be reminded that our focus is on the client. Now, I'll also cover the milestone 1 assignment, which is just a 2-category rubric. And I'll be able to look at your code and also live preview your page at the same time. Naomi, this was a great document. I like the way that you have this preamble and you give a thorough design discussion about each of your wireframes, and then you go ahead to post them. While you said that number 1 was the simplest, I think it is probably the most successful. I like the way that you combine the logo along with the navigation, and that's all that, those are the things you want the person to see first. That also affords a lot of vertical space for a big image, and I think those inclinations to keep things big, big images that bleed off the sides at least, and that, all things to consider. I also like that you're thinking about a footer. As you now know, or apparently know, a footer is also part of the web page, and something, though not required in this class, something that you can add towards the end. And this is, I think, an appropriate place for the social media links. That's also sometimes where they put revision numbers or dates. If they revise a website or a page, they'll put that there sometimes, developers. Also, I have seen sitemaps, HTML sitemaps down there too. Just things to consider. I think some of the tutorials will cover that. Having the logo float over an image is also a possibility too. Think about the file formats that support transparency. I think SVG would be the most appropriate file format for the logo if you wanted to sit it on top of a background photograph. That could be successful also. But in general, I think you would do well to follow the one that appeals to you. But I think this is a successful, if somewhat conventional, solution to number 1. Naomi, I noticed that you were able to upload successfully not only to GeoCities but also to WebHost 000. So, good going. You've gotten some real practice, I guess, in FTP, right? I'm looking at the GeoCities version just to keep things simple. And adopt whichever version you want, but I certainly don't expect you to maintain 2 websites on 2 different servers. So just let me know which one you prefer for me to look at, and I'll do so. Anyway, I'm looking at it in Safari for the Macintosh, and what I've done is I've split my windows so that I can see live preview of your page, but also look at the code. And then over here is a little window that gives me some idea of your file structure, at least of elements that are public and that I can view. Now, I see that you've more than exceeded the rubric requirements for week 3, which was just to format a head. You've made indications of a typeface, and you have used or set them in the corporate color. I see too that you've got you've evolved to a navigation scheme based on an unordered list, and that which is in your head there. So you've got the navigation going on here too. Looks so that's probably that's this week's accomplishment, but it's okay to see it. Now I wanted to point out a few things. This is a script that when I'm viewing your code live using the Safari developer view source. Here is a script that GeoCities places on your page. It's meant to make your page visible as well as searchable. And then down here is another little meta comment that GeoCities places at the bottom. So just don't be alarmed. These are things we have to live with where we get free domains. You had a question about an image not appearing. I'm assuming that it didn't appear in your web host 3000. Usually that means that the web address for it is incorrect, the file path. Perhaps you have it in a folder. Let me see where it might be. You might have it in a folder. You're also using the div. So you've been closely following the tutorial in HTML5 Foundations, Chapter 2, I see. Here is an image. This suggests to me that you've got an image directory, as suggested. You might consider putting a slash here. That means go up a directory. And study the definition of relative versus absolute links. Naomi, this is a great job on a visual sitemap. It's real simple. I understand it immediately. And then it looks like you've also gotten your coded sitemap together. Let me zoom in there. Yeah, that's good. Now ideally this should, well, let's see, what we've got here. Okay, here they are. Here are the individual pages, menu, specials, so forth. Sometimes I have to sort of see through the code here to figure out what you're doing. Now, this could easily become the unordered list that will become your site navigation scheme. Well, I see that in your fourth week submission. And then I see that you have your desktop matching what you've got on the server. Now, this is the 000 web host. Whichever you prefer. You know, some people like the 000 web host because the file manager is easier. And GeoCities file manager is a little antiquated. You know, the look of it and also just using it is perhaps not as intuitive. So whatever your choice is, but settle on a final URL so that you're not so that I'm not missing assignments. You know, I'm not looking for them in the wrong places. But a really great job. I appreciate the effort it takes to upload things twice. Naomi, I like your journal entry for a lot of reasons. You didn't just, relentlessly take the rubric prompts and answer them. You wove a bit of a narrative. And you asked, here you've outlined or defined your target audience or market, I guess. And you've thought of things to ask a focus group, which is also, it seems to be your target audience. Think about other people to include in your focus group in a situation like the restaurant, perhaps wait staff, particularly if you have like order out. You want to study processes that make the website, which is a interface, function well. So I like that you bullet listed questions that you would be asking of the client as well as of the focus group. This is really exhaustive, and to me a journal entry is something that should be short, but I appreciate the extra effort that you took to write this. Your suggestions for other marketing research tools are well taken. SurveyMonkey is certainly a popular one. Naomi, be aware of resources that are under our noses, such as the U.S. Census. There are some, you have to pay for, such as Google Analytics or Nielsen. Your writing is clear. I really liked your notes at the end here and your references, exemplary.